Board of Zoning Appeals to order. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Just turned it on right now.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Roger Brock, Kathleen Hill,
Present.
William Hutton,
Present.
Dennis Radowski, Nancy Reagan,
Present.
3 present. We have a quorum.
Right. Could we have a motion to table the minutes for January 31st, 2023 and February 28th, 2023 until our next meeting on May 31st, 2023, or when we have our next meeting?
I'll make that motion. We table that May 31st.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to table both minutes. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill,
Yes?
3 ayes, 0 nays, motion passed.
And I see we have no old business. Has anything occurred where we would need to have old business?
I'm going to speak about old business. As the board remembers, there was a case in January that was for the U-Haul that the board tabled to the March meeting, and then there's been some discussions going on as to whether or not that will be revived. We do not know at this point 100% one way or the other whether it's going to be revived. So if you still have your information from the January meeting, please keep that.
And at the present time, if it does come before us again, they would have to basically go through all the procedures before they,
Yes, it would have to be
okay.
all completely re-notified, yes.
Any questions? All right, let's move to new business. We have case Z-23-04, petition of Levine family. Lavelle Family Limited Partnership, LLP, for a conditional use regarding Title 11, Section 11.11, to allow outdoor materials storage in a I-1 Light Industrial District located at 6525 Conkey Street in the city of Hammond. Both of these are related. Can I at least read both of them and have one presentation for both and separate votes, Mr. Poland?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay, then the second case is Z-23-08, petition of Lavelle Family Limited Partnership, LLLP, for a developmental variant regarding Title 2022, Section 22, Period 21, brings 2, to allow a 6-foot tall and non-obscured fencing for outdoor material storage in an I-1 Light Industrial District located at 625 Conkey Street in the city of Hammond. In our first one, as far as Z-2307, you might want to correct the spelling of light industrial. All right, have all notification requirements been met?
Yes, they have.
All right. And we have the petitioner here. Would you please sign in and state your name?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Attorney Nathan Viss here on behalf of the Lavelle Family Partnership. I can report to the Commission this has been my first time working with the Board of Zoning and Appeals here in the city of Hammond. I've done a lot of work with other municipalities. I appreciate the thoroughness that your staff gave to this particular project, having served quite a long time in the city of or town of Cedar Lake as their redevelopment commission president. I know the importance of protecting the citizens, and I can say that your staff has done that, so thank you for their attention to detail. As I've indicated, Attorney Nathan Viss, on behalf of the Lavelle Family Partnership, we're here before you this evening seeking a conditional use permit as well as a developmental variance. And briefly, I've just got a couple of pictures just to highlight for the Board of Zoning and Appeals here this evening. The location that we are seeking it for this evening is 625 Conkey Street. You may be familiar with the Board of Works building, which is directly located to the, I believe, the west of this building. There's also some other municipal buildings located to the right of this particular building. It is zoned I-1. Prior to this, it had use as a recycling facility. I believe that there was an agreement between this facility and the City of Hammond commencing in 2014-15. Unfortunately, that did not pan out, and this property was set up for tax sale last year. My client made a significant purchase in investing into it, and to date, I know he has invested 6 figures into improving the property and cleaning it up, and I believe that this is now a location that the city once again can be proud of. After he cleaned it up, put it out to the market to find a tenant, and I'm pleased to indicate that we have found a great tenant. It's a tenant that originates out of my home state, Wisconsin. They are a landscape brick and natural stone supplier. They are a second-generation company, and they are growing, and part of their growth is to collaborate with some quarries that are located in the south, and they have discovered with their operations in the past year that this particular location makes great sense. Not only are they distributing a significant amount of stone to masons and to landscape suppliers in the area, but this location enables their truck drivers to travel from the south to deposit that load and get back on the road again, heading south again to maximize their time and efficiency. So they've studied this area, they've observed that this is a long-term place that they want to be, and the second step that we are moving towards here, since January, they've been storing their product inside the building as they appropriately can, but located in this I-1 district. In order for them to store their product on the outside, it requires conditional use approval. It's allowed subject to this board's approval of that product. So this is just an overview picture of what the property roughly looks like. I'm going to step away and just scroll down. You can see here, this is a looking northward at the property from Conkey Avenue. It's got a wonderful ornate wrought iron fence in the front. We'll keep going. This is a shared access driveway that is shared between Public Works and with my client, with Beekle Stone. A concern that was raised early on was the ability of my clients or their tenants to navigate this entryway with their semis along with the Public Works. Pleased to indicate, I believe staff has indicated in their report as well, they met a driver on site. We've had an engineer conduct a circular study of the area, and everyone is in agreement that there are no issues with the ability for both Public Works, Beekle Stone, and my client to happily coexist on this property. I believe they've got great relations. Further adding to the property along the north, someone had good sense years ago to plant a great row of deciduous trees. So in the springtime, summertime, and fall, this is the look that you would get if you're looking at the building from Conkey. This is a picture of the existing use of the building as it stands right now, taken within the last 2 months. You can see this is the type of product and way that the product is stored on behalf of Beekle Stone. So this is what the interior of their premises looks like, and it's a sense of what they would store on the outside. Now, the items that are in the cardboard boxes, most likely that would not be stored unless it's temporary, so it's going to be transferred to a semi, as the rain would biodegrade that. But you can see with the other items, it's all cleanly wrapped in saran wrap, both A, to enable it from shifting in transportation, B, not allowing it to fall out, and C, as well, it just keeps everything contained. One of the things I asked of Beekle Stone was to send a couple of pictures of what their outdoor storage areas look like, both in Kiel and Chilton, Wisconsin, and elsewhere. And this is next just 2 pictures of what the product looks like that is stored on the exterior. In summation, then, it's a uniquely shaped property, and what Beaklestone and my client are looking for is this board's approval to be able to store on the exterior of the property in the locations that are outlined in the pink on the screen before you. If you look on the right-hand side of the building, that's roughly 50 to 60 feet that juts out from the building. There is an existing fence, chain link fence that's 6 feet high that surrounds that area in pink that's on the right-hand side of the picture before you. That runs the entire length of the building. Then you have the area that's hidden in back. There's an access driveway on the right-hand side of the property that trucks can turn into. There's also a truck loading zone that's on the back side of the property between the larger pink square and the smaller pink square. Now, also to note, if you look on the left-hand side of the property, it shares a parking area with the City Public Works Department, and the further you get to the north, you see that large white dome. That is a salt dome that is utilized by Public Works. One of the requests that we are making is to waive the requirement for there to be any fencing located on the northwest side of the property. It's my understanding all parties are in agreement. It does not make sense to fence that off, both A, due to its far proximity away from the street, B, there is a fence at the front entryway to the property, and C, we don't want to carve out around the edge of the property with fencing, as that would make it much more difficult for city salt trucks to be able to navigate through that area. So again, we're seeking a collaborative relationship. In conclusion then, thanks to working with Tom Novak, he came up with a colored schema here to make it easier as to what we are exactly seeking approval for. So what we are seeking approval for this evening is for the area that's outlined in green. My client would agree to transition that from a 6-foot tall chain link fence to an 8-foot tall impermeable fence, putting extensions on that and then running slats through that entryway. In the area in blue, which is half the distance of the entire building, right now that is chain link fence, we would transition that to keeping it at 6 feet tall with slats, again, so if one were looking passing Conkey Street and look with the sight distance up the alleyway there, again, that would inhibit their ability to see the stone that is stored behind. And then in the area in orange, we're requesting the ability to keep that as a 6-foot tall chain link fence as it currently exists. In conclusion, Madam Chairwoman, and through the Board of Zoning and Appeals, I believe we have analyzed this from a wide variety of angles. It's my understanding that the variety of city departments, we've covered all of their concerns with what has been submitted, and we are seeking your approval, both A, for a conditional use permit to allow the exterior storage of natural materials so long as they are properly stored in the manner that's been described in the petition, so long as they do not exceed 70 inches in height, and so long as they are stored in the areas as per the application. And then secondarily, seeking approval for waiver of fencing in the areas described, and then an allotment to transition the fencing to what's been described as well in our application on the screen before you.
Any questions?
Mr. Poland, are we looking at both cases or just the one case for outside storage first?
You have to approach this as two cases and go through the whole procedure for the conditional use, and then all the motions, and then go back to the developmental variance request.
Thank you.
So he can ask questions in regard to both of them at this time?
You can, as long as you remember to keep, the issues separate.
Madam President, for a 30-plus-year-old building, it's in pretty good shape, and it looks like you've taken good care of it, and you bring good stuff to the city of Hammond. Thank you for doing that.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I will pass that along. Not to belabor this, but I landscaped for 8 years back in Wisconsin. And when I saw the name Beaklestone, I had to call up my uncle that I labored for 8 years and say, "Do you know this guy?" And he said, "Yeah, I've worked with him for 30 years. They're a great family." And it's been nothing but that the past 5 months, and I think the city officials can attest to that as well.
Would any of these, what their products, what they're selling, or what they're producing, or whatever, storing, is it open to the public where have to be concerned about public parking or anything like that? It was all just bringing it in, taking it out?
Good question. No, it is not anticipated that this is open to the public. They've got great relations with a lot of suppliers in the area, and this is meant to wholesale or bulk it up here. And then from here, it is either shipped to on-site or then shipped to those local companies that then sell the product directly to end consumers.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Any other questions? You have a question? Okay.
Can you just state for the record that what the number of trucks were coming per day, per week?
Sure. As it exists right now, it is my understanding that approximately there is 1 to 5 trucks per day that are entering, ingressing, and egressing. It's anticipated that in the summertime, that number might be slightly higher, as that's when the construction season is more, and in the wintertime, it's more so the buildup, but at present, it's 1 to 5. From what I have understood, they've maximized the interior of the premises. If you add to the exterior, that's only approximately 35% more than what's on the inside of the building already. So I don't anticipate that the current truck traffic is going to increase that significantly. And from what I understand, there's been no complaints from the residents or city officials working nearby.
And then there is an understanding that the truck is coming from Calumet Avenue and is not going west.
I have discussed with the client that there is an existing truck traffic roadway in the city of Hammond, and I'm happy to pass that along, Mr. Poland, again, to Beaklestone if that becomes an issue.
Yes, because they would have to always use Calumet Avenue as in and out.
Mm-hmm.
How long have they been storing things now and transporting?
They have been utilizing the interior of the property since approximately January 5.
And there's been truck traffic and everything else with no complaints from anyone at the present time?
That is what I understand, as well as we had the city engineer meet on site a Beagle driver on site, and I believe they're able to observe him as he traversed around and through, and it also actually provided us a good couple of months where both Beaklestone trucks as well as city trucks worked together in essence and utilized the property during the winter months when they were utilizing the salt storage facility, and there were no issues that I'm aware of.
Yeah, in that site visit, even though I did not observe it, but there was discussion of the truck's ability to maneuver between the parking row and the building to get into the loading area that's on the west side of the building. And that, it would be navigating, the navigation was appropriate with the turning radiuses, and that there'd be no impact on the parking spaces. That generally was a concern by the director of the the Public Works Department to make sure that there would be, a truck would not drive over where the parking spaces were or affect any of the parking that sometimes will cross the technical property line. It's basically a cross access and cross parking between the two in that whole parking field.
I understand 1 to 5 trucks come in daily. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, that's accurate.
How many trucks go out daily?
I believe that's the in and out, 1 to 5, 1 in, 1 out, so to speak, that same 1 in and out. So that would be 2 to 10 trips total.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
What's their hours there for their business?
So right now is standard business hours during the day, from what I understand. There's not night traffic.
There was some discussion with the director of the Public Works Department about the gate access, because typically the Public Works closes a gate at, I think it was 3 or 3:30. Do you recall if there was some kind of coordination to make sure that if their activity is after that official closing, that somehow there is, whether it's left open and someone from the company officially closes it, or any type of coordination along those lines?
If I can quick step around, I'll point out two areas and I'll step back to the mic. We'll call this A, this is B. Mr. Poland, to my understanding, I've not been a part of any of those conversations. I know it has been expressed to me by Beaklestone that they've made good contacts with city officials in Public Works, and there's been no issues. So to that extent, if they need to continue to coordinate, they certainly can, as there is recorded against both the City of Public Works and my client's property a cross-access easement agreement, which would enable and allow my client to access that front gate entryway. And that would just require, I think, a coordinated effort to say if it needs to be locked after a certain time for various reasons, let's figure out A, how. And then B, that area that I described as B, that is another access portal that my client would allow and grant access to Beaklestone to go up that alleyway to get into the backside of the premises to have ingress in and out as well.
Okay, yeah, and just, I would just suggest that just make sure there's communication and basically the security of both facilities and whatever coordination is necessary between Public Works and the company about keeping the property secure and locked.
I will communicate that later this week, Mr. Pullen, and include you on that communication.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So we're looking at another entrance to the property on the north side, the north end of the property?
It's an existing entrance. There's no additional entrance.
Let me restate that. We're talking about a new gate and a new fence?
No, there are existing gates, so those are not being changed.
Okay.
The question about the fence is part of the developmental variance issue when it comes to the standard requirement is for an 8-foot opaque or solid fence, and the variations that they're proposing on that.
This might be a silly question, but I presume these are not big trucks that they can maneuver down this lane and get inside the fenced area?
So these are flatbed semis, standard semi-lengths.
Really?
And they have been able to easily frequent the area with no difficulty. Yep.
Down that lane?
Down that lane as well, yes. Yep.
Thank you.
And we have engineer calculations as well. So not only do we have, they've done it, boots on the ground, but we also have engineer calculations that say it should work, and it obviously has. Yep.
Mr. Hutton, you have to remember that this driveway actually goes straight back to the tire company that's sitting back there, and they have semi-trucks that are going straight and then make the turn movements once they pass their gate. But yes, that was part of the turning radius analysis with the gate that goes into this property. Because if you go in the one drawing where they show where the storage is, there's property to the north that will not have storage in it, and that would allow for those kind of truck movements. You know, they'd be able, you know, whether they can make a 90-degree turn or they're going at an angle, they have all that blue area north of the large pink square in order to make those turning radiuses on property.
I wouldn't want to drive a semi, I'll be honest with you, because it's amazing what they can do.
Thank you.
We'll step back for public comment. Madam Chairwoman?
Yes, we're ready for public comment. I do not see anybody in the public that would like to speak for or against. And there's no one online. So, any other questions from the staff or board members? Do you have anything else you would like to say?
Nothing further at this time.
All right.
on the conditional use.
On just Z-23-07, which is the conditional use.
Yes, in the matter of Z-2307, the conditional use. Staff has reviewed the petitioner's request and recommends that the BZA grant the conditional use permit should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards, subject to, 1, approval by the board of the developmental variance case known as Z-2308, in compliance with all of that case's conditions, especially those involving the fencing on site. 2, outdoor material storage shall occur only to the north and east of the warehouse. 3, no outdoor displays of any wares for sale nor displays visible to the public to be allowed. And 4, compliance with Hammond City Code Chapters 94, 97, 98, 101, 132, 150, and 160, and in particular the sections enforcing litter, junk, and the harboring of public nuisance, as to maintain a sanitary, safe, and aesthetically pleasing property.
All right. Is there any additional comments or amendments or additions? All right, we have as far as proposed findings of fact. Do we have a motion to adopt the staff report with its recommendations and the proposed findings of fact as presented as the official findings of fact?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call vote?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes?
3 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Do we have a motion in regard to the conditional use permit for Z-23-07?
I'll make that motion for the conditional use of Z-23-08, 1 through 4. Oh, 0,
That motion
Oh,
is
you
to
know
approve
what?
it?
07.
The motion to approve?
Yes. Under condition.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Roll call vote?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Kathleen Hill.
Yes.
3 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
All right, we will move on to Z-23-08, which is for the developmental variance. Do we have any questions from the board?
Madam Chairman? Just to state for the record, for the developmental variance, remember they are going to install an 8-foot fence on the portion that is parallel to Conkey Street, replacing the 6-foot fence that is there and adding the slats. They are proposing to keep the 6-foot fence elsewhere on the east and the north, with adding the slats in on the east side, in the area that is from the south wall of the building to the midpoint of the building, which is referenced as blue, and to eliminate the requirement of any fencing along the west side of the property that is butting the 601 Public Works facility due to the cross-access, cross-parking agreements.
So the orange fencing that's currently there will remain as it is?
Yes, and in essence, technically what you're doing is you're allowing a 6-foot fence instead of requiring the 8-foot fence.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We ready for the staff report?
Yes.
Okay, in the matter of Z-2308, the developmental variance at 65 Conkey Street, staff has reviewed the petitioner's request and recommends the BZA grant the developmental variance should the board feel the petitioner has met the standards, subject to, 1, approval by the board of the conditional use permit case known as Z-23-07. 2, maintenance of required sections of 8-foot tall and 6-foot tall 100% obscured fence as indicated. And 3, outdoor material storage shall only occur to the north and east of the warehouse.
All right. We have proposed findings of fact. Any additions, deletions that the members would like to make? Can we have a motion to adopt the staff report with its recommendations and the proposed findings of fact as presented as the official findings of fact?
Madam Chairman, I don't want to interject, but if we could maybe just brief public comment just for the record, that way no one can come back on the record and claim that
Okay,
Thinking that.
I,
I thought the public comments were taking care of both of them, but we can do
I-
that again.
Arguably, it was, did you state it was for both, or did you state it was only one?
I don't know if I stated it. but
I couldn't recall, that's why I'm interjecting, I just want to make sure we have a clean record.
Yeah,
We'll vote separate.
I'll quick sit.
Okay. Hopefully that is into the record, because we took them both at the same time, and we were going to vote separately.
I think we have reasonably determined, we've reasonably announced it in that context, yes.
Okay, you comfortable with that?
I'm good with that if you're good with that.
There's no
Okay.
one on lines.
And the staff is comfortable with that? Board members comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we will then again ask if we have a motion to adopt the staff report with its recommendations and the proposed findings of fact as presented as the official findings of fact into the record.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion and a
I'll second the motion.
second. Could we have a roll call vote?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes?
Kathleen Hill,
Yes?
3 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Okay. Do we have a motion in regard to the developmental variance for Z-23-08? Whether to adopt or deny?
I'll make that motion that we adopt Z-23-08 for grant the development variance. Developmental variance.
With the condition.
Oh yeah, with the conditions 1 through 3.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote?
Nancy Reagan,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes?
Kathleen Hill,
Yes?
3 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
It sounds like you've been to several of these meetings before.
Every once in a while. I've sat in your shoes, I've been on both sides of the podium, it's a good place to be, so, thank you all for your work, I know it takes a lot, so thank you.
Good luck, and thank you for your comments about the staff.
No, absolutely,
They've been very helpful.
I mean, there were times that I wanted to say, is that enough, but it's been good for me too, so I appreciate it, I really do. So, yep, thank you all, appreciate it, have a good evening.
I'll see you around. Thank you.
Do we have any commissioners' comment? Any staff comment?
Just a reminder that we will be having a BZA meeting in May. It is actually on a Wednesday. This is Wednesday, May 31st. We made the adjustment in the calendar before because of Memorial Day, that we moved it off a Tuesday onto a Wednesday, May 31st, just as a reminder that it got changed.
Any public comment? Hearing none. I will adjourn the meeting at, I have 6:35. Have a wonderful evening.
So that means we'll get the packet